What if the colleague you trust most at work is actually the one positioning themselves to betray you in the most devastating way possible? This uncomfortable truth challenges everything we believe about professional relationships and workplace loyalty. Yet it happens in offices, stores, and workplaces around the world every single day. The person bringing you coffee, covering your shifts, and appearing to be your greatest workplace ally might simultaneously be undermining everything you've worked to build through hidden relationships and concealed agendas that exploit your genuine care and professional dedication. Trust in the workplace is like a delicate crystal sculpture, beautiful when intact, but once shattered, the pieces never fit together quite the same way again. The story of Marcus, a dedicated store clerk, perfectly illustrates how professional loyalty can be weaponized against those who genuinely care. He had been working at that small retail store for 3 years, building relationships with customers and maintaining the daily operations with unwavering dedication. When Sarah joined the team as a sales associate, she seemed overwhelmed by the demanding schedule and multiple responsibilities. Marcus, being naturally helpful and empathetic, immediately stepped in to offer support. His willingness to help wasn't born from romantic interest, but from genuine professional camaraderie and understanding of workplace struggles. Little did he know that his acts of loyalty would become the foundation for one of the most painful lessons about trust in professional environments. Sarah's constant complaints about being overworked struck a chord with Marcus, who remembered his own early days struggling to balance the demanding retail schedule. Every time she expressed frustration about covering weekend shifts or handling difficult customers, he felt compelled to ease her burden. The environment fostered what seemed like mutual support, two colleagues helping each other navigate the challenges of retail work. Marcus began volunteering for her shifts without hesitation, covering mornings when she claimed to have family emergencies, taking over her evening responsibilities when she mentioned feeling exhausted, and even sacrificing his weekends to ensure she could have time off. His actions weren't driven by any expectation of reciprocal treatment, but by a genuine belief that workplace solidarity creates a better professional environment for everyone. He found satisfaction in knowing that his efforts were making a difference in someone's career journey. The confidence he felt in their professional relationship seemed unshakable, built on what he perceived as mutual respect and shared workplace values. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly supportive professional relationship, a different dynamic was taking shape that would challenge everything Marcus believed about trust and loyalty in workplace settings. Sarah's expressions of gratitude began to feel increasingly performative, though Marcus was too focused on being helpful to recognize the subtle signs. She would thank him profusely for covering her shifts, but these moments of appreciation felt hollow, lacking the genuine warmth that characterizes authentic professional relationships. The frustration that would later consume Marcus was already building, though he couldn't yet identify its source. His dedication to maintaining professional integrity meant he continued supporting her despite growing feelings of unease. The disappointment that awaited him would serve as a crucial learning experience about reading between the lines in workplace dynamics. What seemed like a straightforward case of colleague helping colleague was actually a complex web of manipulation that would soon unravel, revealing truths that would forever change how Marcus approached professional relationships and understood the delicate balance between helping others and protecting his own interests. The retail environment can be particularly challenging for maintaining healthy professional boundaries, as the close quarters and shared responsibilities often blur the lines between personal and professional relationships. Marcus had always prided himself on his ability to maintain professionalism, while still being genuinely supportive of his colleagues. He believed that creating a positive workplace culture required individual contributions from each team member, and he was committed to doing his part. The trust he placed in Sarah wasn't naive optimism, but rather a calculated decision based on his understanding of effective team dynamics. He had observed how workplace betrayal could destroy team morale, and was determined to be part of the solution rather than the problem. His approach to professional relationships was grounded in the belief that mutual respect and support create environments where everyone can thrive. The lessons he was about to learn would challenge these fundamental assumptions about workplace loyalty and force him to develop a more nuanced understanding of professional relationships. Sarah's behavior patterns should have raised red flags for someone more experienced in recognizing workplace manipulation, but Marcus's genuine nature made him vulnerable to exploitation. She had mastered the art of appearing grateful, while simultaneously taking advantage of his willingness to help. Her requests for assistance always came wrapped in language that made Marcus feel like he was making a meaningful difference in her life and career. The emotional manipulation was subtle but effective. She would share personal struggles that seemed to justify her need for additional support, creating a narrative that positioned Marcus as her workplace savior. This dynamic fed into his natural desire to be helpful, while simultaneously preventing him from recognizing the one-sided nature of their professional relationship. The confidence he felt in his ability to judge character was being systematically undermined, though he wouldn't realize this until much later. The professional environment that had once felt supportive and collaborative was slowly transforming into something more complex and potentially harmful. The superation that Marcus would eventually achieve through this experience represents one of the most valuable aspects of workplace betrayal: the opportunity for profound personal and professional growth. While the immediate aftermath of betrayal is painful and disorienting, it often serves as a catalyst for developing stronger boundaries and more sophisticated understanding of workplace dynamics. Marcus's journey from naive helpfulness to informed professionalism illustrates how difficult experiences can become the foundation for greater wisdom and effectiveness in professional settings. The aprendizado he gained from this situation would prove invaluable in future workplace relationships, enabling him to maintain his naturally helpful disposition while protecting himself from exploitation. Professional growth often requires uncomfortable experiences that challenge our assumptions and force us to develop new skills and perspectives. The retail environment, with its unique challenges and interpersonal dynamics, provided the perfect laboratory for this type of transformational learning experience. The transformation from trusted colleague to exploited helper represents a common pattern in workplace relationships that extends far beyond retail environments. Marcus's experience illustrates how professional betrayal can occur gradually through a series of small compromises and boundary violations that accumulate over time. The loyalty he demonstrated wasn't weakness, but rather a strength that was weaponized against him by someone who understood how to exploit genuine professional caring. His willingness to sacrifice his own time and energy for what he believed was the greater good of the team demonstrates the type of professional integrity that organizations should value and protect. However, the harsh reality of workplace dynamics means that this type of genuine caring can make individuals vulnerable to exploitation by those who lack similar ethical standards. The deception he experienced would serve as a crucial education in the complexities of professional relationships and the importance of maintaining healthy boundaries while still being a supportive colleague. The psychology of workplace manipulation often reveals itself through carefully crafted statements that create artificial intimacy and false sense of unique understanding. Sarah's declaration that Marcus was the only one who understood how overloaded she was represents a classic manipulation tactic designed to create emotional dependency and justify continued exploitation. In professional environments, this type of language serves multiple purposes. It isolates the target from other potential sources of support, creates a false sense of special relationship, and establishes the manipulator as uniquely deserving of assistance. Marcus, like many well-intentioned professionals, interpreted this statement as genuine appreciation for his empathy and understanding. The trust he felt in their professional relationship was being strategically cultivated through language designed to make him feel indispensable and uniquely capable of providing the support she claimed to need. This manipulation technique works because it appeals to our natural desire to feel valued and understood in our professional environments, creating a sense of purpose that goes beyond normal workplace interactions. The environment of retail work, with its demanding schedules and high-stress situations, creates fertile ground for this type of emotional manipulation to take root and flourish. Sarah understood that Marcus's genuine concern for workplace equity and team support could be leveraged to her advantage through strategic expressions of vulnerability and appreciation. Her ability to position herself as the overwhelmed victim requiring rescue, appealed to his natural problem-solving instincts, and desire to create positive workplace culture. The frustration that Marcus would later experience wasn't just about being taken advantage of, but about realizing how his own positive qualities had been weaponized against him. Professional betrayal often involves this type of psychological manipulation, where the victim's strengths become the very tools used to exploit them. The confidence he felt in his ability to judge character and workplace situations was being systematically undermined through carefully orchestrated interactions designed to blur the boundaries between professional support and personal sacrifice. What makes this type of workplace manipulation particularly insidious is how it masquerades as genuine professional appreciation while actually serving to isolate and exploit the target. Sarah's strategy of positioning Marcus as her unique source of understanding created a false sense of exclusivity that prevented him from seeking outside perspective on their professional relationship. The loyalty he demonstrated through continued support was being transformed into a tool for his own exploitation, though he couldn't recognize this pattern while it was happening. This dynamic illustrates how workplace betrayal often involves a gradual erosion of healthy professional boundaries, disguised as deepening mutual respect and understanding. The professional environment that should have protected both employees through clear expectations and boundaries instead became a space where manipulation could flourish unchecked. The apprendizado that would eventually emerge from this experience would fundamentally change how Marcus approached workplace relationships, teaching him to distinguish between genuine professional appreciation and strategic emotional manipulation designed to exploit his natural helpfulness. The retail industry's emphasis on teamwork and mutual support creates particular vulnerabilities for employees who genuinely believe in collaborative workplace culture. Marcus's interpretation of Sarah's statements as evidence of meaningful professional connection reflects a common misunderstanding about the nature of authentic workplace relationships. True professional appreciation is demonstrated through actions and reciprocity, not just through carefully crafted verbal expressions designed to elicit continued support. The environment fostered what appeared to be mutual understanding, but was actually a one-sided emotional dependency that served only Sarah's interests. Marcus's willingness to accept her framing of their relationship as uniquely supportive prevented him from recognizing the manipulative nature of her communications. The trust he placed in her expressions of gratitude was being systematically exploited through language designed to make him feel both indispensable and responsible for her professional well-being. This type of manipulation works because it appeals to our deepest professional values, while simultaneously undermining our ability to maintain healthy boundaries. The psychological impact of believing oneself to be someone's primary source of professional understanding creates a sense of responsibility that extends far beyond normal workplace obligations. Sarah's strategic positioning of Marcus as her unique ally effectively isolated him from other perspectives that might have helped him recognize the exploitative nature of their relationship. The confidence he felt in his role as her primary supporter was actually a form of emotional dependency that served her interests while draining his resources and energy. Professional relationships should be characterized by mutual respect and reciprocal support, not by one-sided emotional dependency disguised as appreciation. The frustration that was building beneath Marcus's conscious awareness stemmed from the increasing disconnect between his investment in their professional relationship and the lack of genuine reciprocity he was receiving. The workplace environment that should have encouraged healthy collaboration was instead enabling a dynamic that would ultimately lead to significant professional and personal disappointment for Marcus. The journey from feeling uniquely appreciated to recognizing manipulation represents one of the most challenging aspects of workplace betrayal recovery. Marcus's experience illustrates how our positive professional qualities can become vulnerabilities when encountered by individuals who lack similar ethical standards. The deception he would eventually experience wasn't just about discovering Sarah's true character, but about recognizing how his own desire to be helpful and understanding had been strategically exploited. Professional growth often requires learning to distinguish between genuine appreciation and manipulative flattery, designed to extract continued support and resources. The superation that would emerge from this experience would enable Marcus to maintain his naturally supportive disposition while developing the discernment necessary to protect himself from future exploitation. This type of learning experience, while painful, often proves invaluable in developing more sophisticated understanding of workplace dynamics and human behavior in professional settings. The transformation from feeling uniquely valued to recognizing strategic manipulation represents a crucial developmental milestone in professional maturity and workplace wisdom. Marcus's gradual awakening to the reality of his situation would ultimately serve as the foundation for more authentic and sustainable professional relationships in the future. The loyalty he had demonstrated wasn't misplaced in principle, but rather misdirected towards someone who lacked the integrity to reciprocate appropriately. His experience illustrates how workplace betrayal often involves a complex interplay of genuine positive intentions meeting calculated exploitation. The professional environment that had initially seemed to support meaningful colleague relationships was actually enabling dynamics that would ultimately prove harmful to those who approached workplace interactions with authentic care and concern. The apprendizado gained from recognizing and recovering from this type of manipulation would prove invaluable in future professional situations, enabling Marcus to maintain his helpful nature while protecting himself from those who might seek to exploit his genuine desire to support his colleagues. The small gestures that define workplace relationships often reveal the most about character, intentions, and the delicate balance between professional courtesy and personal investment. Sarah's behavior in the store corridors, bringing coffee, sharing jokes, leaving heart-adorned notes on restock receipts, painted a picture of someone who genuinely appreciated Marcus's support and wanted to reciprocate in meaningful ways. These actions created an atmosphere of warmth and mutual care that extended beyond typical professional interactions, suggesting a deepening bond built on shared experiences and genuine affection. Marcus interpreted these gestures as evidence of authentic friendship and professional partnership, believing that their relationship had evolved into something uniquely supportive and mutually beneficial. The trust he placed in these small but consistent demonstrations of care seemed well-founded, as they appeared to represent genuine appreciation for his willingness to cover her shifts and support her through challenging workplace situations. The confidence he felt in their connection was reinforced daily through these intimate moments that suggested a level of personal investment that went beyond mere professional convenience. The environment of retail work, with its close quarters and shared responsibilities, naturally creates opportunities for personal connections to develop alongside professional relationships. Sarah's ability to navigate this space with apparent authenticity made her gestures particularly convincing and emotionally impactful for Marcus. The coffee she brought wasn't just caffeine, it represented thoughtfulness and consideration for his well-being during long shifts. The jokes they shared created moments of levity that made difficult workdays more bearable and fostered a sense of camaraderie that extended beyond typical colleague interactions. The heart symbols on restock receipts transformed mundane administrative tasks into personal communications that suggested romantic or deep emotional interest. These accumulated gestures created a narrative of growing intimacy and mutual investment that made Marcus feel valued not just as a helpful colleague, but as someone deserving of special attention and care. The loyalty he demonstrated through continued support seemed to be generating genuine reciprocal affection, creating a positive feedback loop that reinforced his willingness to continue sacrificing for her benefit. However, the very public nature of these displays of affection would later take on a different significance when viewed through the lens of workplace manipulation and strategic relationship management. Sarah's choice to make these gestures visible to other employees and customers created an impression of romantic or deeply personal connection that served multiple purposes beyond simple appreciation. The professional environment became a stage for performed intimacy that would ultimately serve her interests, while potentially compromising Marcus's reputation and emotional well-being. The frustration that would later consume him wasn't just about discovering the true nature of their relationship, but about realizing how these public displays had been strategically orchestrated to create specific impressions and maintain his continued support. The aprendizado he would gain from this experience would fundamentally change his understanding of how public displays of affection in workplace settings can be used as tools of manipulation rather than expressions of genuine care. The confidence he had felt in interpreting these gestures as evidence of mutual affection would be replaced by a more sophisticated understanding of how workplace dynamics can be manipulated through carefully crafted public performances. The psychology behind public displays of workplace affection reveals complex motivations that extend far beyond simple appreciation or romantic interest. Zara's strategic use of visible gestures served to create witnesses to their special relationship, while simultaneously preventing Marcus from questioning the authenticity of her feelings or intentions. The retail environment, with its constant foot traffic and multiple observers, provided the perfect backdrop for this type of performative relationship building. Her actions created a narrative that positioned them as uniquely connected colleagues who shared something special that others could observe but not fully understand. This public validation reinforced Marcus's belief in the authenticity of their connection, while also creating social pressure that made it difficult for him to withdraw his support without appearing ungrateful or cruel. The trust he placed in these public demonstrations of care was being strategically cultivated to maintain his continued investment in their one-sided professional relationship. The workplace environment that should have maintained clear boundaries between personal and professional interactions, instead, became a space where manipulation could flourish under the guise of authentic relationship building. The emotional investment that Marcus made in interpreting and reciprocating these gestures represents a common vulnerability in workplace relationships where personal and professional boundaries become blurred. The coffee, jokes, and heart-adorned notes created a daily ritual of connection that made him feel appreciated and valued in ways that extended beyond normal professional recognition. His natural inclination toward reciprocal relationship building made him particularly susceptible to this type of strategic emotional investment, as he interpreted her gestures as invitations to deepen their connection rather than tools for maintaining his continued support. The environment fostered what appeared to be genuine mutual affection, but was actually a carefully orchestrated campaign designed to keep him emotionally invested in supporting her needs. The deception he would eventually experience would be magnified by the realization that these intimate moments had been performed rather than felt, calculated rather than spontaneous. The professional setting that had initially seemed to nurture authentic human connection was actually enabling a dynamic that would ultimately prove emotionally devastating for someone who had approached these interactions with genuine care and openness. The journey from interpreting workplace gestures as evidence of mutual affection to recognizing them as tools of manipulation represents one of the most challenging aspects of recovering from professional betrayal. Marcus's experience illustrates how our natural desire for meaningful connection can make us vulnerable to exploitation by those who understand how to weaponize intimacy and affection for personal gain. The superation that would eventually emerge from this painful realization would enable him to maintain his capacity for genuine workplace relationships while developing the discernment necessary to distinguish between authentic care and strategic emotional manipulation. Professional growth often requires learning to navigate the complex territory between being open to meaningful connections and protecting oneself from those who might exploit that openness. The loyalty he had demonstrated in response to her gestures wasn't misplaced in principle, but rather misdirected towards someone who lacked the integrity to reciprocate authentically. This type of learning experience, while emotionally costly, often proves invaluable in developing more sophisticated understanding of human behavior and relationship dynamics in professional settings. The transformation from feeling uniquely cherished to recognizing strategic manipulation through workplace gestures represents a crucial milestone in developing professional wisdom and emotional intelligence. The small acts of kindness that had seemed so meaningful, the coffee, the jokes, the heart-adorned notes, would take on entirely different significance when viewed through the lens of calculated relationship management rather than spontaneous affection. Marcus's gradual awakening to this reality would ultimately serve as the foundation for more authentic and sustainable professional relationships in the future, though the immediate impact would be profound disappointment and a fundamental reassessment of his ability to accurately interpret workplace relationships. The professional environment that had initially seemed to support meaningful human connection was actually enabling dynamics that prioritized exploitation over authentic mutual support, creating conditions where genuine care could be weaponized against those who offered it most freely. The apprendizado gained from this painful recognition would prove invaluable in future workplace situations, enabling him to maintain his naturally caring disposition while developing the protective awareness necessary to avoid similar exploitation in professional settings where trust and vulnerability intersect with ambition and self-interest. The moment when workplace betrayal reveals itself often arrives with devastating clarity, transforming ordinary professional environments into stages for profound personal revelation and emotional reckoning. Marcus had arrived early that Tuesday morning, motivated by his characteristic dedication to ensuring smooth store operations and his ongoing commitment to supporting what he believed was a mutually beneficial professional relationship. The confidence he felt in his understanding of workplace dynamics was about to be shattered by sounds that would forever change his perception of trust, loyalty, and professional integrity. The laughter emanating from the store owner's office carried a quality that immediately struck him as inappropriate for the early morning hour and the supposedly professional context of their workplace. His natural curiosity, combined with a growing sense of unease about the nature of the sounds he was hearing, compelled him to investigate further. The frustration that had been building beneath his conscious awareness suddenly crystallized into a moment of terrible clarity that would mark the beginning of his journey from naive professional optimism to hard-earned workplace wisdom. The retail environment, which had previously felt like a second home where professional relationships could flourish alongside business objectives, suddenly transformed into something far more complex and emotionally challenging. The laughter Marcus heard wasn't the sound of colleagues sharing professional humor or discussing business strategies. It carried undertones of intimacy and familiarity that suggested a completely different type of relationship than what he had understood to exist between Sarah and their employer. The trust he had placed in his ability to accurately interpret workplace relationships was being challenged by evidence that suggested a hidden dynamic operating parallel to the professional interactions he had observed. His approach to the office door represented more than simple curiosity. It was the first step in a journey that would fundamentally alter his understanding of how personal and professional relationships can intersect in ways that compromise integrity and exploit the genuine care of well-intentioned colleagues. The professional loyalty he had demonstrated through months of covering shifts and providing support was about to be revealed as misplaced investment in someone who had been operating according to entirely different principles and priorities. The sound of intimate laughter at 7 in the morning, in a supposedly professional setting, created a cognitive dissonance that Marcus's mind struggled to process and reconcile with his existing understanding of workplace relationships. His natural inclination was to find innocent explanations for what he was hearing, but the growing accumulation of inconsistencies and the increasingly obvious nature of the sounds made denial increasingly difficult to maintain. The environment that had fostered what he believed was genuine professional camaraderie was about to reveal itself as something far more complicated and potentially harmful to those who had approached workplace relationships with authentic care and consideration. The deception that was building in this moment would extend far beyond disappointment in one individual's character to encompass a fundamental reassessment of his ability to navigate complex workplace dynamics and protect his own interests while maintaining his naturally supportive disposition. The apprendizado that would emerge from this painful revelation would prove invaluable, though the immediate experience would challenge everything he believed about professional integrity and mutual respect in workplace settings. The psychology of workplace betrayal often involves a gradual accumulation of evidence that challenges our existing beliefs about relationships and character, followed by moments of devastating clarity that force immediate reassessment of everything we thought we understood. Marcus's experience of hearing inappropriate laughter from his boss's office represents one of those pivotal moments where suspicion transforms into knowledge and comfortable assumptions are replaced by uncomfortable truths. The professional environment that should have protected all employees through clear boundaries and ethical standards was instead enabling relationships that compromised the integrity of workplace interactions and exploited the genuine contributions of dedicated staff members. His approach to that office door represented more than physical movement. It was a symbolic journey from innocence to experience, from trust to skepticism, from comfortable assumptions to painful awareness. The loyalty he had demonstrated through months of selfless support was about to be revealed as investment in someone who had been pursuing entirely different objectives while accepting his help. The confidence he had felt in his understanding of their professional relationship was being challenged by evidence that suggested a completely different reality operating beneath the surface of their daily interactions. The transformation from comfortable assumptions to painful awareness often occurs in moments that seem insignificant until they reveal themselves as pivotal turning points in our understanding of workplace relationships and human character. The early morning timing of Marcus's discovery added an additional layer of betrayal to an already complex situation, as it suggested that the inappropriate relationship had been deliberately concealed behind the facade of professional interactions during normal business hours. The trust he had placed in both Sarah and their employer was being simultaneously violated through evidence of a relationship that explained many of the inconsistencies he had noticed, but chosen to overlook in favor of maintaining his positive interpretation of workplace dynamics. The retail environment, with its close quarters and informal atmosphere, had provided perfect cover for this type of concealed relationship to develop and flourish while exploiting the goodwill and support of other employees. The frustration that was crystallizing in this moment represented not just personal disappointment, but professional disillusionment with the entire framework of assumptions that had guided his approach to workplace relationships and colleague support. The journey from suspicion to confirmation represents one of the most challenging aspects of workplace betrayal, as it requires confronting evidence that contradicts our preferred understanding of relationships and character, while maintaining the emotional equilibrium necessary to function professionally. Marcus's experience of hearing intimate laughter from his boss's office illustrates how workplace betrayal often involves multiple parties and complex power dynamics that extend far beyond simple personal relationships. The superation that would eventually emerge from this painful revelation would require him to develop new skills for navigating workplace politics while maintaining his naturally supportive disposition in environments where trust must be earned rather than freely given. The professional wisdom he would gain from this experience would prove invaluable in future workplace situations, though the immediate impact would involve significant emotional processing and fundamental reassessment of his approach to colleague relationships. The loyalty he had demonstrated wasn't weakness or naivete, but rather strength that had been exploited by individuals who lacked similar ethical standards and commitment to professional integrity. The moment of approaching that office door represents a threshold between comfortable ignorance and painful knowledge that characterizes many experiences of workplace betrayal and professional disillusionment. The sounds Marcus heard weren't just evidence of inappropriate workplace relationships, but confirmation that his months of selfless support had been accepted under false pretenses by someone who was simultaneously pursuing personal advantages through entirely different means. The professional environment that had initially seemed to support authentic relationships and mutual support was revealing itself as a complex system where hidden agendas and concealed relationships could flourish while exploiting the genuine contributions of dedicated employees. The apprendizado he was about to gain would fundamentally change his approach to workplace relationships, teaching him to balance his naturally helpful disposition with appropriate skepticism and self-protection. The confidence he had felt in his ability to judge character and interpret workplace dynamics was about to be replaced by hard-earned wisdom about the complexity of human motivation and the importance of maintaining healthy boundaries even in seemingly supportive professional environments. This pivotal moment would mark the beginning of his transformation from naive workplace optimism to informed professional maturity, though the immediate experience would involve significant emotional challenges and fundamental reassessment of his understanding of trust, loyalty, and professional integrity in workplace settings. The moment when workplace betrayal transforms from suspicion to undeniable reality often arrives with visual evidence that shatters every comfortable assumption we've built about professional relationships and personal character. When that office door opened and Sarah emerged, hastily adjusting her hair with the unmistakable look of someone caught in an intimate moment, Marcus witnessed the complete collapse of everything he had believed about trust, loyalty, and professional integrity in their shared workplace. The confidence he had maintained in his understanding of their relationship was instantly replaced by the crushing realization that months of selfless support had been accepted under entirely false pretenses. The store owner's appearance immediately afterward, sweating and fumbling with his belt, provided visual confirmation of what the earlier sounds had suggested, a relationship that explained every inconsistency Marcus had chosen to overlook in favor of maintaining his positive interpretation of workplace dynamics. The professional environment that had seemed to nurture authentic colleague relationships was revealing itself as a stage for deception that had exploited his genuine desire to support a fellow employee. The frustration that had been building in his subconscious suddenly crystallized into a moment of devastating clarity that would forever change his approach to workplace relationships and professional trust. The visual evidence of betrayal carries a psychological impact that extends far beyond intellectual understanding, creating emotional wounds that challenge our fundamental beliefs about human nature and professional ethics. Sarah's disheveled appearance and obvious embarrassment confirmed that the inappropriate laughter Marcus had heard was indeed what he had feared, while simultaneously revealing the calculated nature of her previous expressions of gratitude and professional appreciation. The retail environment, which had previously felt like a supportive community of colleagues working toward common goals, was suddenly exposed as a complex web of hidden relationships and concealed motivations that had been operating beneath the surface of daily professional interactions. The loyalty Marcus had demonstrated through countless covered shifts and sacrificed weekends was revealed as misplaced investment in someone who had been pursuing personal advantages through entirely different means while accepting his help. The deception he experienced in this moment wasn't just about discovering one person's poor character, but about recognizing how his own positive qualities had been systematically exploited by individuals who lacked similar ethical standards. The apprendizado that would emerge from this painful revelation would prove invaluable in developing more sophisticated understanding of workplace dynamics, though the immediate impact would involve profound disillusionment with his ability to accurately judge character and professional situations. The psychology of witnessing workplace betrayal firsthand involves a complex process of cognitive dissonance resolution that forces immediate reassessment of months or years of accumulated assumptions about relationships and character. The store owner's obvious physical state, sweating, disheveled, still adjusting his clothing, provided undeniable confirmation that the professional authority Marcus had respected was actually complicit in a relationship that compromised the integrity of their workplace and exploited the genuine contributions of dedicated employees. The trust he had placed in both individuals was being simultaneously violated through evidence that explained why his months of exceptional support had never resulted in appropriate professional recognition or reciprocal consideration. The professional environment that should have maintained clear boundaries between personal relationships and business operations was instead enabling dynamics that prioritized personal gratification over ethical treatment of employees. The confidence Marcus had felt in his understanding of workplace hierarchy and professional relationships was being challenged by evidence that suggested a completely different reality, operating parallel to the official business structure. The frustration crystallizing in this moment represented not just personal disappointment, but professional awakening to the complex ways that power dynamics and hidden relationships can corrupt workplace environments and exploit the goodwill of well-intentioned employees. The retail industry's informal atmosphere and close working relationships create particular vulnerabilities for this type of workplace betrayal to develop and flourish while remaining concealed from employees who approach professional interactions with genuine care and ethical standards. Marcus's witness to this intimate moment between Sarah and their employer illuminated a power dynamic that had been operating beneath the surface of their daily professional interactions. explaining many of the preferential treatments and scheduling accommodations that he had attributed to her claims of being overwhelmed. The environment that had fostered what appeared to be genuine professional appreciation was actually enabling a relationship that compromised the integrity of workplace decisions and exploited the dedication of employees who were operating according to different ethical standards. The loyalty he had demonstrated through months of selfless support was being revealed as investment in someone who had been receiving benefits and considerations through entirely different means while accepting his help under false pretenses. The professional relationships that had seemed to exemplify mutual support and colleague loyalty were actually part of a complex system where hidden agendas and concealed motivations could flourish while exploiting the genuine contributions of dedicated staff members. The emotional impact of witnessing undeniable evidence of workplace betrayal extends far beyond disappointment in individual character to encompass fundamental questions about professional environments, power dynamics, and the vulnerability of ethical employees and systems that enable exploitation. Sarah's obvious embarrassment and the store owner's disheveled state confirmed that their relationship had been deliberately concealed because both parties understood its inappropriate nature and potential impact on workplace dynamics and employee morale. The trust Marcus had placed in the professional integrity of both individuals was being simultaneously violated through evidence that revealed months of deception and exploitation disguised as normal business operations and colleague relationships. The professional environment that had initially seemed to support authentic human connections and mutual respect was actually enabling relationships that prioritized personal interests over ethical treatment of employees and fair workplace practices. The superation that would eventually emerge from this devastating revelation would require Marcus to develop new frameworks for understanding workplace relationships while maintaining his naturally supportive disposition in environments where trust must be carefully evaluated rather than freely given. The journey from witnessing betrayal to processing its implications represents one of the most challenging aspects of workplace disillusionment, requiring emotional resilience and cognitive flexibility to navigate the complex process of reassessing relationships and professional environments. The visual evidence Marcus witnessed, Sarah's disheveled appearance, the store owner's obvious physical state, their mutual embarrassment at being discovered, provided undeniable confirmation that his months of exceptional support had been accepted under false pretenses by individuals who were simultaneously pursuing personal advantages through concealed relationships. The apprendizado he would gain from this painful experience would fundamentally change his approach to workplace relationships, teaching him to balance his naturally helpful disposition with appropriate awareness of hidden motivations and power dynamics that can corrupt professional environments. The confidence he had felt in his ability to interpret workplace relationships and judge character was being replaced by hard-earned wisdom about the complexity of human motivation and the importance of maintaining healthy skepticism, even in seemingly supportive professional settings. The loyalty he had demonstrated wasn't naivete or weakness, but rather strength that had been exploited by individuals who lacked similar commitment to professional integrity and ethical treatment of colleagues. The transformation from comfortable professional assumptions to painful workplace awareness often occurs in moments that seem to last forever, while actually taking only seconds to unfold completely. Marcus's witness to this intimate scene between Sarah and their employer represented more than discovery of inappropriate workplace relationships. It was revelation of an entire system of concealed motivations and hidden agendas that had been operating while he provided exceptional support and professional dedication under entirely different assumptions about the nature of their workplace community. The professional environment that had initially seemed to nurture authentic relationships and mutual support was revealing itself as a complex web of exploitation, where genuine care could be weaponized against those who offered it most freely. The deception he experienced would extend far beyond disappointment in individual character to encompass fundamental reassessment of his understanding of workplace dynamics, professional relationships, and the vulnerability of ethical employees in environments where personal interests can override professional integrity. The moment when that office door opened, would mark the beginning of his journey from naive workplace optimism to informed professional maturity, though the immediate experience would involve significant emotional processing and complete reconstruction of his approach to trust, loyalty, and professional relationships in workplace settings where hidden agendas and concealed motivations can flourish beneath the surface of daily professional interactions. Topic 6. Text production. The aftermath of witnessing workplace betrayal often manifests in physical actions that serve as emotional release valves for feelings too complex and overwhelming to process through words alone. Marcus's response to discovering Sarah and the store owner's inappropriate relationship was channeled into the seemingly mundane task of cleaning the counter, but his actions spoke volumes about the internal turmoil he was experiencing. The confidence he had maintained in his understanding of workplace relationships had been completely shattered, leaving him struggling to find appropriate ways to express the frustration, disappointment, and sense of betrayal that were flooding through his consciousness. His decision to remain silent in that moment wasn't weakness or passive acceptance, but rather the instinctive wisdom of someone who understood that words spoken in the heat of such profound disillusionment might cause irreversible damage to his professional standing and future opportunities. The trust he had placed in both individuals had been so thoroughly violated that he needed time to process the full implications of what he had witnessed before determining his response. The professional environment that had once felt supportive and collaborative was now revealed as something far more complex and potentially hostile to employees who approached workplace relationships with genuine integrity and ethical standards. The psychology behind repetitive physical actions during emotional crisis reveals how our minds seek concrete tasks to occupy our hands, while our consciousness struggles to process overwhelming information about betrayal and deception. Marcus's increasingly vigorous cleaning of an already spotless counter represented his attempt to channel the energy of his anger and disappointment into something productive rather than destructive. The retail environment, with its emphasis on customer service and professional appearance, required him to maintain composure even while experiencing one of the most professionally devastating moments of his career. The loyalty he had demonstrated through months of selfless support was being revealed as misplaced investment in individuals who had been operating according to entirely different principles while accepting his help under false pretenses. His continued scrubbing motion, long after the counter was clean, became a physical manifestation of his mental effort to scrub away the uncomfortable truth of what he had discovered about his workplace and the people he had trusted. The apprendizado that would emerge from this experience was already beginning, though in this moment it felt more like emotional survival than professional growth. The environment that had fostered what he believed was mutual respect and professional camaraderie was showing its true nature as a place where genuine care could be exploited by those willing to prioritize personal interests over ethical treatment of colleagues. The compulsive nature of Marcus's cleaning behavior reveals how workplace betrayal can trigger responses that serve multiple psychological functions, providing physical outlet for emotional energy, creating sense of control in situations that feel chaotic, and offering temporary escape from overwhelming cognitive processing demands. His inability to stop scrubbing the already pristine counter reflected his mind's struggle to find equilibrium, after having fundamental assumptions about trust and professional relationships completely undermined by undeniable evidence. The professional environment that should have provided clear guidelines for appropriate behavior and ethical standards was instead enabling relationships that compromised the integrity of workplace decisions and exploited the dedication of employees who were operating according to different moral frameworks. The frustration he was experiencing wasn't just about discovering individual character flaws, but about recognizing how his own positive qualities had been systematically weaponized against him by people who understood how to exploit genuine professional caring for personal advantage. The deception that was driving his repetitive actions extended far beyond disappointment in specific individuals to encompass fundamental questioning of his ability to navigate workplace relationships and protect his own interests while maintaining his naturally supportive disposition. The confidence he had felt in his professional judgment was being replaced by uncertainty about everything he thought he understood about workplace dynamics and human character in professional settings. The retail industry's emphasis on maintaining professional appearance and customer service standards creates additional challenges for employees experiencing workplace betrayal, as they must process profound personal and professional disillusionment while continuing to perform their duties with apparent normalcy. Marcus's choice to channel his emotional response into cleaning rather than confrontation demonstrated sophisticated understanding of workplace politics and the potential consequences of expressing raw emotions in professional environments where power dynamics favor those in positions of authority. The trust he had placed in both Sarah and their employer was being simultaneously violated, but his response showed awareness that immediate emotional reactions might jeopardize his employment and future opportunities more than strategic patience and careful planning. The professional environment that had initially seemed to support authentic relationships was revealing itself as a complex system where hidden agendas and concealed motivations could flourish while exploiting the genuine contributions of dedicated employees who approached workplace interactions with ethical standards and professional integrity. His continued cleaning motion became a form of meditation that allowed him to process the implications of his discovery while maintaining the professional composure necessary to protect his immediate interests and plan his long-term response to this devastating revelation about workplace relationships and character. The symbolic significance of cleaning an already clean surface extends beyond simple physical activity to represent the psychological process of attempting to restore order and purity to an environment that has been revealed as corrupted by deception and exploitation. Marcus's inability to recognize when the counter was sufficiently clean reflected his mind's struggle to determine when he had processed enough of the painful truth to move forward with appropriate action and emotional healing. The loyalty he had demonstrated through months of exceptional support was being revealed as investment in people who had been pursuing entirely different objectives while accepting his help, creating a sense of professional and personal violation that demanded both emotional processing and strategic response planning. The professional environment that should have protected all employees through clear ethical standards and appropriate boundaries was instead enabling relationships that prioritized personal gratification over fair treatment of dedicated staff members. The superation that would eventually emerge from this experience was already beginning through his instinctive choice to seek productive outlets for his emotional energy, rather than allowing anger and disappointment to drive immediate reactions that might compromise his professional standing. The apprendizado he was gaining about workplace dynamics, human character, and the importance of protecting his own interests while maintaining professional integrity would prove invaluable in future situations, though the immediate experience felt more like emotional survival than professional development. The transformation from comfortable professional assumptions to painful workplace awareness often requires physical actions that serve as bridges between emotional overwhelm and rational processing of complex betrayal situations. Marcus's compulsive cleaning behavior provided necessary time and space for his consciousness to begin integrating the devastating information about his workplace relationships, while maintaining the professional composure required to protect his immediate interests and plan appropriate responses. The professional environment that had fostered what he believed was genuine mutual support was showing its true nature as a place where authentic care could be exploited by individuals willing to prioritize personal advantages over ethical treatment of colleagues and professional integrity. The confidence he had felt in his ability to judge character and navigate workplace relationships was being replaced by hard-earned wisdom about the complexity of human motivation and the importance of maintaining appropriate skepticism, even in seemingly supportive professional environments. His continued scrubbing motion, long after any cleaning purpose was served, became a physical manifestation of his mental effort to process betrayal while maintaining the emotional equilibrium necessary to function professionally in an environment that had been revealed as far more complex and potentially harmful than he had previously understood. The journey from discovering workplace betrayal to determining appropriate response often requires periods of seemingly meaningless activity that actually serve crucial psychological functions in processing overwhelming information and maintaining professional stability. Marcus's repetitive cleaning of an already spotless counter represented more than displacement activity. It was a form of active meditation that allowed him to channel his emotional energy productively while his mind worked to integrate devastating new information about trust, loyalty, and professional relationships in environments where hidden agendas can flourish beneath the surface of daily interactions. The retail environment, with its constant demands for customer service and professional appearance, required him to find ways to process profound personal and professional disillusionment while continuing to meet his employment obligations and protect his immediate interests. The deception he was experiencing would ultimately serve as the foundation for greater professional wisdom and more sophisticated understanding of workplace dynamics, though in this moment, it felt primarily like emotional survival and the beginning of a fundamental reassessment of his approach to trust, professional relationships, and self-protection in workplace environments where genuine care can be weaponized against those who offer it most freely. The confrontation that follows workplace betrayal often begins with attempts at levity from those who have been caught, as if humor could somehow diminish the gravity of their actions and restore the previous dynamic of exploitation disguised as friendship. Sarah's question, "Are you jealous?" represented more than casual teasing. It was a calculated attempt to reframe Marcus's legitimate feelings of betrayal and professional violation as petty romantic jealousy rather than justified anger about workplace ethics and personal integrity. The confidence she displayed in making this joke revealed her complete misunderstanding of the situation and her continued belief that she could manipulate his response through strategic emotional deflection. Her attempt to treat the discovery of her inappropriate relationship as a source of light banter demonstrated a fundamental lack of awareness about the impact of her actions on someone who had provided months of selfless support under entirely false pretenses. The trust Marcus had placed in their professional relationship made her casual dismissal of his feelings particularly painful, as it confirmed that she had never truly valued his support or understood the ethical standards that had motivated his willingness to sacrifice his own time and energy for what he believed was genuine colleague appreciation. The professional environment that should have supported honest communication about workplace relationships was instead enabling continued manipulation through humor, designed to avoid accountability for exploitative behavior. The psychology behind using humor to deflect serious conversations about betrayal and workplace ethics reveals sophisticated understanding of social dynamics and the power of emotional manipulation to avoid consequences for inappropriate behavior. Sarah's choice to frame Marcus's discovery as potential jealousy rather than legitimate professional concern demonstrated her continued effort to control the narrative and maintain the power dynamic that had enabled her exploitation of his genuine supportiveness. The retail environment, with its informal atmosphere and close working relationships, had provided perfect cover for this type of manipulative response to serious ethical violations and personal betrayal. Her ability to maintain casual confidence while making such a joke suggested either complete lack of awareness about the impact of her actions or sophisticated understanding of how to weaponize humor against people who approach workplace relationships with sincerity and ethical standards. The loyalty Marcus had demonstrated through months of exceptional support was being dismissed through humor designed to minimize the significance of her betrayal and redirect focus away from the inappropriate nature of her relationship with their employer. The frustration building in Marcus wasn't just about discovering the truth of their relationship, but about recognizing how she continued to manipulate the situation, even after being caught in behavior that violated both professional ethics and personal trust. Marcus's response, "I'm disgusted and ashamed for believing," cut through her attempted manipulation with devastating precision, revealing both the depth of his emotional injury and his clear understanding of the true nature of their interaction. His choice of the word disgusted indicated that his reaction went far beyond disappointment or hurt feelings to encompass fundamental revulsion at behavior that violated his core values about professional integrity and human decency. The professional environment that had fostered what he believed was mutual respect and genuine colleague support, was being revealed as a place where his positive qualities had been systematically exploited by someone who lacked similar ethical standards. His admission of shame for believing in their relationship demonstrated sophisticated self-awareness about his own vulnerability to manipulation, while simultaneously establishing clear boundaries about what constituted acceptable workplace behavior and personal treatment. The deception he expressed wasn't just about discovering individual character flaws, but about recognizing how his trust had been weaponized against him by someone who understood how to exploit genuine professional caring for personal advantage. The aprendizado embedded in his response showed that he was already beginning to process the lessons about workplace relationships and human character that would prove invaluable in future professional situations, though the immediate experience remained profoundly painful and disillusioning. The power dynamics revealed in this exchange illustrate how workplace betrayal often involves complex interactions between different approaches to professional relationships and ethical standards. Sarah's attempt to use humor to deflect serious conversation about her behavior demonstrated continued effort to maintain control over their interaction and avoid accountability for actions that had exploited Marcus's genuine supportiveness and professional dedication. The retail environment, which should have provided clear guidelines for appropriate workplace relationships and ethical behavior, was instead enabling continued manipulation through social dynamics that favored those willing to prioritize personal interests over fair treatment of colleagues. Marcus's direct response showed his refusal to allow humor to minimize the significance of her betrayal, or redirect focus away from the legitimate professional and personal concerns raised by her inappropriate relationship with their employer. The confidence he demonstrated in clearly expressing his feelings represented a crucial step in his journey from naive workplace optimism to informed professional maturity, though the immediate cost was significant emotional pain and fundamental reassessment of his approach to trust and professional relationships. The trust he had placed in both individuals was being simultaneously violated, but his response showed growing awareness of the importance of maintaining clear ethical standards, even in environments where others might choose to operate according to different principles. The transformation from exploitation to empowerment often begins with moments of clear communication that establish boundaries and refuse to accept continued manipulation, disguised as humor or casual interaction. Marcus's articulation of his disgust and shame represented more than emotional expression. It was declaration of independence from a dynamic that had prioritized her interests while exploiting his genuine desire to support a colleague in need. The professional environment that had initially seemed to nurture authentic relationships was being revealed as a complex system where hidden agendas and concealed motivations could flourish, while exploiting the dedication of employees who approached workplace interactions with ethical standards and professional integrity. His ability to clearly identify and express his feelings demonstrated emotional intelligence and self-awareness that would prove crucial in his recovery from workplace betrayal and development of more sophisticated understanding of professional relationships. The loyalty he had demonstrated wasn't weakness or naivete, but rather strength that had been exploited by individuals who lacked similar commitment to honest communication and ethical treatment of colleagues. The superation that was beginning in this moment would ultimately enable him to maintain his naturally supportive disposition while developing the discernment necessary to protect himself from future exploitation in workplace environments where trust must be earned rather than freely given. The journey from naive trust to informed skepticism often requires confrontations that force clear communication about values, expectations, and boundaries in professional relationships that have been corrupted by deception and exploitation. Sarah's attempt to use humor to deflect serious conversation about workplace ethics and personal betrayal revealed her continued lack of understanding about the impact of her actions on someone who had provided exceptional support under entirely false assumptions about their relationship. The professional environment that should have supported honest communication about relationship dynamics and ethical standards was instead enabling continued manipulation through social tactics designed to avoid accountability for inappropriate behavior and exploitative treatment of dedicated employees. Marcus's direct response demonstrated his growing awareness of the importance of maintaining clear ethical standards and refusing to accept treatment that violated his fundamental values about professional integrity and human decency. The apprendizado he was gaining about workplace dynamics, human character, and the importance of protecting his own interests while maintaining professional standards would prove invaluable in future situations, though the immediate experience remained emotionally challenging and required significant reassessment of his approach to trust and professional relationships in environments where genuine care can be weaponized against those who offer it most authentically. The moment when humor meets harsh reality often serves as a crucial turning point in relationships that have been built on exploitation and maintained through manipulation, disguised as appreciation and friendship. Marcus's refusal to allow Sarah's joke to minimize the significance of her betrayal represented a fundamental shift in their dynamic, from one where she controlled the narrative through strategic emotional manipulation to one where he asserted his right to honest treatment and ethical professional relationships. The retail environment, with its close quarters and informal atmosphere, had provided perfect cover for the type of manipulative behavior that prioritized personal advantages while exploiting the genuine contributions of dedicated colleagues. But his clear response established new boundaries that refused to accept continued exploitation. The confidence he demonstrated in expressing his disgust and shame for believing in their relationship showed growing awareness of his own worth and the importance of maintaining standards for how he deserved to be treated in professional environments. The frustration and deception he experienced would ultimately serve as the foundation for greater professional wisdom and more sophisticated understanding of workplace relationships, enabling him to maintain his naturally helpful disposition while developing the protective awareness necessary to avoid similar exploitation in future professional situations where trust and vulnerability intersect with ambition and self-interest in complex and potentially harmful ways. The ultimate expression of professional superation often emerges not through confrontation or revenge, but through the transformative power of channeling betrayal into constructive action that creates new opportunities and establishes authentic success built on genuine values. Marcus's decision to resign from his position represented more than simply leaving a toxic workplace. It was the first step in a journey toward professional independence that would validate every principle he had maintained about integrity, hard work, and ethical business practices. The confidence he demonstrated in choosing to leave rather than remain in an environment that had exploited his loyalty showed remarkable emotional maturity and strategic thinking about his long-term professional development. His month-long notice period provided crucial time for processing the lessons learned from his experience with workplace betrayal, while planning his transition to entrepreneurship, with careful consideration of the values and practices that would define his own business operations. The frustration and disappointment he had experienced were being transformed into motivation for creating a professional environment that would honor the principles of trust, loyalty, and mutual respect that had been violated in his previous workplace. The apprendizado gained from his painful experience with Sarah, and the store owner was becoming the foundation for a business philosophy that would prioritize ethical treatment of employees and authentic professional relationships built on genuine appreciation rather than exploitation. The retail industry's entrepreneurial opportunities provided Marcus with the perfect avenue for applying his extensive experience and knowledge while creating a business environment that reflected his values about professional integrity and employee treatment. His decision to open his own store represented more than career advancement. It was a statement of independence from workplace dynamics that had prioritized personal interests over ethical treatment of dedicated employees. The professional environment he was creating would serve as living proof that success could be achieved through authentic relationships and genuine care for employee well-being, rather than through manipulation and exploitation of trust. The trust he had learned to protect through his painful experience with workplace betrayal would become a cornerstone of his management philosophy, ensuring that future employees would be valued for their contributions and treated with the respect he had been denied in his previous position. The loyalty he had demonstrated in his former workplace rather than being weakness, had actually been preparation for understanding how to inspire genuine dedication from employees who felt truly appreciated and fairly treated. The confidence he felt in his business vision was built on hard-earned wisdom about workplace relationships and the practical knowledge gained through years of retail experience, creating a solid foundation for sustainable success that would honor both professional competence and ethical standards. The psychology of transforming workplace betrayal into entrepreneurial motivation reveals how painful experiences can become catalysts for profound personal and professional growth when channeled constructively rather than destructively. Marcus's journey from exploited employee to business owner illustrated the powerful potential for superation that exists within every experience of professional disappointment and personal betrayal. The retail environment that had once been a source of pain and disillusionment was being transformed into an opportunity for creating positive change and establishing new standards for workplace culture and employee treatment. His understanding of what not to do, gained through his experience with Sarah and the store owner, was proving just as valuable as his technical knowledge about retail operations and customer service. The professional relationships he would build in his new business would be founded on authentic appreciation and genuine respect, rather than strategic manipulation and exploitation of trust. The deception he had experienced was being alchemized into wisdom that would enable him to recognize and appreciate employees who demonstrated real dedication while protecting his business from individuals who might seek to exploit genuine care and professional opportunity for personal advantage. The apprendizado that had emerged from his painful experience was becoming practical knowledge that would inform every aspect of his business operations and employee relationships. The entrepreneurial journey often begins with recognition that existing professional environments fail to reflect our values, and that creating new opportunities represents the most authentic path toward both personal satisfaction and professional success. Marcus's transition from employee to business owner demonstrated how workplace betrayal can serve as powerful motivation for establishing environments that honor the principles of integrity, fairness, and mutual respect that had been violated in his previous experience. The retail industry's competitive landscape provided numerous opportunities for differentiation through superior customer service and ethical business practices that would distinguish his store from competitors who might prioritize short-term profits over long-term relationship building. The confidence he felt in his business model was built on genuine understanding of customer needs and employee motivation gained through years of hands-on experience in retail operations. His approach to hiring and employee management would reflect hard-earned wisdom about the importance of authentic appreciation and fair treatment in creating workplace cultures that inspired genuine dedication and professional excellence. The trust he had learned to protect and value through his painful experience would become a competitive advantage, enabling him to build relationships with both employees and customers that were founded on authenticity rather than manipulation. The professional environment he was creating would serve as testament to the possibility of achieving success through ethical practices and genuine care for all stakeholders involved in business operations. The retail business model that Marcus was developing reflected sophisticated understanding of how authentic workplace relationships contribute to both employee satisfaction and business success through improved customer service and operational efficiency. His experience with workplace betrayal had taught him to recognize the signs of genuine dedication and appreciate employees who demonstrated real commitment to shared professional goals and values. The frustration he had experienced as an exploited employee was being transformed into motivation for creating compensation and recognition systems that would fairly reward dedication and professional excellence. The professional environment he was establishing would prioritize transparency and honest communication over the hidden agendas and concealed motivations that had characterized his previous workplace experience. His understanding of what constituted authentic appreciation, gained through experiencing its absence, would enable him to create management practices that inspired genuine loyalty rather than the strategic manipulation he had encountered with Sarah. The loyalty he would inspire in his employees would be earned through consistent demonstration of fair treatment and genuine respect, rather than through exploitation of their positive qualities and professional dedication. The apprendizado he had gained about workplace dynamics and human character was being applied to create business practices that would protect both his interests and those of his employees through clear expectations and ethical standards that honored the dignity and contributions of everyone involved in his business operations. The transformation from betrayed employee to successful entrepreneur represents one of the most powerful forms of professional superation, demonstrating how painful experiences can be channeled into constructive action that creates positive change and authentic success. Marcus's journey from covering Sarah's shifts to opening his own store illustrated the profound potential for growth and achievement that exists within every experience of workplace disappointment when approached with determination and strategic thinking. The retail environment that had once been a source of exploitation was being transformed into an opportunity for creating new standards of professional excellence and workplace culture that would benefit both employees and customers. The confidence he felt in his business vision was built on comprehensive understanding of retail operations, combined with hard-earned wisdom about human relationships and the importance of maintaining ethical standards in all professional interactions. His success would serve as validation of the principles he had maintained throughout his experience with workplace betrayal, proving that integrity and authentic care for others create more sustainable foundations for achievement than manipulation and exploitation. The trust he had learned to value and protect would become a cornerstone of his business philosophy, ensuring that his success would be built on genuine relationships rather than strategic exploitation of others' positive qualities. The professional legacy he was creating would demonstrate that workplace betrayal, while painful, can become the catalyst for establishing new opportunities that honor both professional competence and ethical standards in ways that create lasting value for all stakeholders. The moment when Sarah appeared at his new store represented the ultimate test of Marcus's transformation from vulnerable employee to confident business owner who had established clear boundaries and authentic standards for professional relationships. His response, "Here, only people who respect those who lift them up are allowed," demonstrated complete integration of the lessons learned from his experience with workplace betrayal into practical wisdom that would guide his business operations and personal relationships. The retail environment he had created reflected his values about mutual respect and authentic appreciation, serving as living proof that success could be achieved through ethical practices and genuine care for employee and customer well-being. The deception he had experienced was being transformed into discernment that enabled him to recognize and exclude individuals who might seek to exploit genuine professional caring for personal advantage. The apprendizado gained from his painful experience had become practical knowledge that informed every aspect of his business philosophy and relationship management, creating sustainable success built on authentic foundations rather than strategic manipulation. The superation he had achieved represented more than personal victory. It was demonstration of the possibility for transforming workplace betrayal into constructive action that creates positive change and establishes new standards for professional excellence and ethical business practices that honor the dignity and contributions of everyone involved in creating authentic professional success. If these stories have opened your eyes to new understanding about workplace dynamics and professional relationships, subscribe to this channel and activate notifications to continue learning about the sophisticated skills required to navigate complex professional environments while maintaining both authenticity and effectiveness. Your career deserves relationships built on genuine mutual respect rather than strategic exploitation. And understanding how to create and maintain those relationships is one of the most valuable investments you can make in your professional future.